Hi, everyone. So today we're going to look at the bottom two formulas on the formula sheet, the surface area of a rectangular prism and the surface area of a cylinder. And these are different than volume. Okay, so surface area is when we're going to find the area of every side, so the faces. So we're going to find the area of the front, the back, the top, the bottom of this rectangular prism. And then we're going to add all those up. So we're adding the surface area, which is 2D, on each side and adding them all up together. For the cylinder, when we cut open a cylinder, this is what the net looks like. It's a rectangle in the middle and two circles for the top and the bottom. So we're going to find the area of those three parts and add them up. The area of the circle, the area of the rectangle, and the area of the other circle. So find page, this should be maybe 22 in your notebooks. And we're going to look at surface area formulas for rectangular prism and cylinder. So surface area is the number of two-dimensional units that will cover the entire outside surface of a 3D figure. So looking at the rectangular prism, it can be represented on a flat surface as a net, like the picture I just showed you. And two of the faces, the top and bottom, will be the same. The two sides are the same, and the front and back are the same. So if we add up the total of all six faces, that gives us surface area. So over in our problem over here, it's kind of hard to see these numbers. I believe they're 10, 2, and 3. So if you need to make the length, width, and height a little darker, this is a 10, 2, and the 3. So here's our big long formula. Surface area equals 2 times the length times the width. 2 because the top and the bottom are the same. So when you do length times width of the bottom rectangle, it's the same area as the top. Same thing for 2 times the length times the height. Notice there's a plus sign because we're adding up those 6 sides, but there's only 3 parts because 2 of them are the same. 2 of them are the same area. So this is the shortcut. So our second row, let's fill in these numbers. So SA equals 2 times length times width. So 2 times 10 times 2. Plus 2 times, now we got to find the length, which is 10, and the height, which is 3. So 2 times 10 times 2 plus 2 times 10 times 3 plus, and then we got to do 2 times the width times the height. So 2 times 3. Your calculators, your handheld calculators, which are the only ones we're going to use today, those know order of operations. So if you go straight across on your calculator, 2 times 10 times 2 plus 2 and no breaks and no equal signs, it should give you this answer. If you want to pause the video really quick and try this on your calculator, I'll give you a second before you come back to the answer. All right, you should have 112, and because this is area, we're measuring the flat parts of it. We're using a square, so it's feet squared. So that's the formula for surface area of a rectangular prism. The cylinder has 3 parts, 2 circles, and then a rectangular region in the middle. So we're going to add up those 3. So the base of the cylinder is 2 circles. I don't think I can move me. Yay. And 1 rectangular region whose length is the circumference and whose width is the height. So like the circumference of the circle is the width of the rectangle. I'll have a figure with a net that kind of shows this a little bit better. So we're adding up those 3 parts. That's the total of the surface area of this circle, of that circle in the middle. So our formula is 2 pi r squared. That's for the 2 circles. So this is the area of the 1 circle is pi r squared, but there's 2 of them. So we do times 2. And then we're adding that to the area of the rectangle. And the area of the rectangle, we should do length times width. But in a cylinder, the length is actually the circumference of the circle, which is 2 pi r, and the width is actually the height. And that's kind of hard to understand. So I'll try to explain it more throughout the year, but this is the formula that you can use. And then the second row is we're plugging in our numbers. I believe this is a 15 and a 4 if you need to make them darker. So follow our formula. SA equals 2 times 3.14 times 4 squared. If you put 4 with a little 2, that will work also. Then there's a plus sign. Then there's a 2. Then there's times 3.14 again, times the radius, which is 4, times the height, which is 15. That's a lot. Make sure you have it written down correctly. You're basically following this expression, right? This equation, plugging in the variables, plugging the numbers in for the variables, the numbers that are on the cylinder. So this is just a lot more work than the volume formulas. They have less letters and operations, but go ahead. Your calculator knows, your handheld calculators can do this order of operations. Just go straight across. It multiplies everything first before it adds them. If you want to pause and wait to get your own answer and then come back and check it, but you should have 477.28 square centimeters. Don't forget your units of measure. All right, let's look at, this should be right underneath what we just did, right? So we're going to circle when we use surface area. Filling a can was volume, but wrapping a present, that's surface area. Ice cream in a cone was volume, but painting a room is two-dimensional. You're painting the walls that are flat to surface area. Painting a box is surface area, and covering a box with paper. So those are going to be when we find surface area. Make sure you have your two formulas written down, 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. That's the cylinder. It's the really long one, but so is the prism one today. These are two very long formulas, a lot of plugging in. So you might not finish as many problems as you did last class. So surface area equals 2 times length times width plus 2 times length times height plus 2 times width times height. All right, let's try a couple of examples before you guys practice. Sarah wants to make a soup can that is 7 centimeters wide and 11 centimeters tall. How much aluminum does she need to make the can? Okay, so this is surface area and it's a cylinder. So I'm going to use my cylinder formula, 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi r h. Make sure you have SA today for surface area. We don't need the V. All right, now let's plug in our numbers in the second row. So we keep the SA equals, we keep the 2 times 3.14 times the radius squared. Does this problem give us the radius? Let's see. Sarah wants to make a soup can that's 7 centimeters wide. So if it's all the way across 7 centimeters, that's the diameter. So 7 divided by 2 is 3.5. That's the radius squared. So make sure you have the radius 3.5 times 3.5 or squared. You can put a little 2 instead. Plus 2 times 3.14 times 3.5. That's the radius, right? R, H, 11. So 2. So look how each part of the formula I have substituted in a number for it. All right, do that on your calculator. You should get 318.71 square centimeters. Okay, let's go to example B. Danny's wrapping this present. How many square inches of wrapping paper does he need to cover the box? Okay, this formula is over here, the rectangular prism formula. So 2 length width plus 2 length height plus 2 width height. It's a big, long formula. And now we have to enter in one number at a time for each variable. So surface area equals 2 times length, which is 15, times 5, plus 2 times 15 times 7, plus 2 times 5 times 7. Doesn't really matter which number you make the length and width and height, as long as you don't repeat them. Like see how 15 times 5, 15 times 7, and then 7 times 5. So pick up your calculator, go straight across because it knows order of operations. Pause the video if you need to. and then come back and check. You should have 430 square inches. All right, last one before you practice. Mino is painting the outside of this cylinder. How many square inches of space will he cover? Round to the nearest hundredth of an inch. This is surface area. It's a cylinder, so I need this formula up here, 2 pi r squared plus 2 pi rh. And then I'm going to plug in my numbers. So 2 times 3.14 times the radius, which is 3, squared, or 3 times 3, plus 2 times 3.14 times the radius, 3 times the height, 8.2. Big long formula or big long equation to put into your calculator. Don't leave anything out. Don't leave the 3 squared out. That's part of the formula. That's part of what you wrote down here. So double check, focus, make sure you've got each part, because some people are getting this wrong because they squared the 3 again over here. It doesn't say to square it twice. It's only once. And you should have 211.01 square inches. All right, hopefully that is not too bad. It's similar to volume, except the formulas are harder. There's a lot more plugging in numbers for the letters and making sure you're putting it in your calculator correctly.